I want to watch the news.
Are you making headway at least?
This is the news.
Schmack-a-magob! It's time for the only news that matters. And the rivalry between Metallica and Megadeth is the stuff of legends. Both bands pushed the boundaries of thrash metal and became legendary in their own way. But what was it like for Megadeth's members, especially the band's former guitarist Chris Poland, to hear that the then rivalry reached new heights with Master of Puppets? In a recent podcast interview with Disturbing the Priest podcast, hey, that's a great title for a podcast, because that's like one of my favorite Black Sabbath songs. Best song on Born Again, in my opinion, and Born Again rules. All right, let's get back into this. Poland revealed the surprise story about his initial reaction to Master of Puppets, released just as Megadeth was wrapping up on their own influential sophomore album, Peace Sells, but who's buying? Master of Puppets apparently had a profound impact on Poland, a bet not a positive one. He said, I remember we made that record Peace Sells, and that's when I first heard Master of Puppets, and I was so bummed out I never listened to Peace Sells again. The impact of Master of Puppets was so significant that it took Poland nearly 2 decades until the album's 2004 remaster to discover the greatness of Peace Sells. And he said, and then Dave took those records and redid them. And then I listened to it, and I was like, yeah, I like this. Yeah, I guess because Poland has not lived with those albums, where, you know, Peace Sells to me is the greatest Megadeth release ever, and I worship when I first got it, and I hate what Dave did to it. And all those remasters suck. I prefer the original. But hey, Chris doesn't know how the original sound. Stop listening to it. But anyway, let's get back to this. Beyond the impact of the music, Poland also touched on the awkwardness of encountering his former Metallica bandmates during those early years. He expressed uncertainty about whether interacting with them was acceptable in Dave Mustaine's eyes, leading to a period of hesitation and missed opportunities to reconnect. Ultimately, he decided to break the ice and approach them. I wasn't sure if I should talk to those guys because I'd see them at gigs. They were at gigs that we did in San Francisco at the Stone, and I didn't know if I should go talk to them or not. And then I've always had this weird vibe. If I saw them, should I talk to them? Should I not talk to them? Finally, I said, I'm just going to go to the bus. And Poland also shared a humorous anecdote about his bandmate, the late drummer Garth Samuelson. During the tour, Samuelson deliberately teased Dave Mustaine with a Metallica centerfold from Rip magazine, joking to Mustaine, saying, personally, should I not talk to them? Finally, I said, I'm just going into the bus. Poland also shared humorous anecdote about his bandmate, the late drummer Garth Samuelson. During the tour, Samuelson deliberately teased Dave Mustaine with a Metallica centerfold from Rip magazine, jokingly implying that Mustaine's personality was the only reason he wasn't in the band. Gar is sitting there, and Gar always had a lit cigarette, and the cigarette is hanging out of his mouth as he's reading Rip magazine. And the centerfold is Metallica, and Gar is smoking a cigarette, and he goes, hey Dave, check this out. And he opens it up and shows him the centerfold, and he goes, dude, if you weren't such an asshole, you'd be in this band. Poland went on to have a successful career, veering away from metal in many of his endeavors, yet contributing to Megadeth as a session musician on 2 separate occasions, while also collaborating with bands like Lamb of God, Damn the Machine, and formed the jazz rock fusion trio Ohm, which coincidentally also featured another former Megadeth member, the late drummer Nick Menza. And I believe, I could be wrong, but I think it was an Ohm show where Nick died on stage. I could be wrong, but yeah, you know, Poland also said he's had some fist fights with Dave. They'd have a lot of fights, but you know, that story of Gar Samuelson, Dave would tell Gar, "Oh, F off." Like, he would never want to fight with Gar, you know, but he had no problem fighting with Chris Poland. And it's a shame. I mean, the story is that Chris Poland and Gar were junkies back then, and they sold, you know, the Megadeth's equipment, and that's why they both got fired. I don't know the whole story. I mean, that's what Dave has said in countless interviews, and it is a shame, man, because for me, I like that lineup the best. I think their best albums was the first 2 albums. Yeah, I liked Rust in Peace, but it's a little overrated to me. You know, I think Marty Friedman's a great guitar player, but still. And, you know, So Far So Good. Side 1 wasn't too big on. I like Side 2 a lot. But it was Killing Is My Business, and especially Peace Sells, the ultimate sophomore album that's nowhere a Jinx, because it's next level from Killing Is My Business, where Killing Is My Business had that primitive, really, as Martin Popoff would say, poverty production. I love that. Poverty production. And I love poverty production. There's a lot of albums from back then that I fell in love with. Now, listening to it now, it's like, yeah, I guess it's poverty production. But back then, it was just awesome. And that's what Killing Is My Business was. And I'll tell you the story, a funny story of when I first got that album. I was very well aware of Dave Mustaine and No Life Till Leather, his relationship with Metallica. And I used to catch a bus that would take me 90 minutes to get to the record store, 90 minutes to get back on the bus. And one of the many times I took the bus, I saw it was, I didn't know nothing about this band, never heard they were formed or anything. But I saw the Megadeth album and had a sticker saying, featuring former Metallica. And I was like, oh my God, I got to get this. It's Dave Mustaine. I already knew about him, so. And I took that album home, man, and completely blew my mind. I was like, wow, this band is definitely faster than Metallica, better musicians than Metallica. You know, it was just, my God, everybody in that band was just unbelievable. It was like speed metal, thrash, and some jazz thrown in. It was just mind-blowing to me the first time I heard Killing Is My Business. But I'm not one of these guys that's, oh, Megadeth is better than Metallica. There's a lot of you out there, and that's cool that you think that. I don't think Megadeth has ever touched an album as good as the first 3 Metallica albums. But I will say, Peace Sells comes very close to those first 3 albums as far as greatness goes. Because to me, that is Megadeth. You know, hey, they could have been drugged out. Whatever the hell they were doing back then, it worked. And man, songs like The Conjuring and My Last Words and Black Friday and Wake Up Dead and Devil's Island, man, Bad Omens. What an amazing damn album. Yeah, I would say they're neck and neck with those early Metallica albums. That's the closest they ever got, in my opinion. But I know a lot of you have different opinions on Megadeth. A lot of you love them way more than Metallica, and that's cool. And you can leave that in your comments below, man. Why you think Megadeth is better than Metallica? I'd love to know. And, but, you know, and I like to hear from all you out there that says, nope, Chris Poland and Gar, that was the best, hands down. And, you know, they were great musicians afterwards, but to me, it's all about those first 2 albums. And that's it. That's it for the only news that matters. I want to thank you all for watching, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't. I would really appreciate that, and like the video. It's good for the YouTube algorithms. So stay frosty. Listen to Black Sabbath and smack 'em a gob.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain. For we've received orders for to sail back to Boston. And so nevermore shall we see you again.